My fellow Americans, I'm glad to join all of you on this final weekend of the summer. Family vacations are now ending, kids are going back to school, and communities all over the nation are preparing for Labor Day parades. And, by the way, this year marks the 100th anniversary of the first Labor Day parade. It isn't true that I was in that first parade. I've just read about it. On Monday, we celebrate the dignity and productivity of America's working people. Our country has prospered because we're a nation of workers, and today there are nearly 100 million at work. More than 100 million according to the unadjusted figures, and 99.8 million in the seasonally adjusted figures. Now, if that confuses you, well, I'm confused too. Unfortunately, on this Labor Day, however, too many of our fellow citizens are unemployed. That's a terrible word, unemployed. It means hardship, uncertainty, frustration, helplessness. Many who are unemployed feel caught up in something they don't understand and over which they have no control. And they're right. It's not the fault of the laid-off fellow in Detroit that he's out of work. It's not his fault the autos aren't rolling down the assembly line. It's not the fault of the unemployed mother in Delaware that the printing plant closed down, throwing her out of a job. The fact is, unemployment has been gaining on us for years. Since 1976, the unemployment rate in this country has averaged over 7%. Far higher than in earlier post-war years. It was only 2.9% in 1953. I'm convinced that in these last few decades, the increased intervention by government in the marketplace, tax policies that took too great a percentage of overall earnings, plus burdensome and unnecessary regulations, reduced economic growth and kept us from creating new jobs for newcomers entering the job market. Today, the unemployment rate is 9.8%, and still, the number of people with jobs is a higher percentage of those of working age than we had in times of full employment, higher than in 1953 when, as I said, unemployment was only 2.9%. I guess what I'm trying to point out is that our unemployment problem is due to more than just the present recession. We must not only work our way out of the recession, we must adopt policies that will stimulate economic growth and create new jobs for the increased numbers entering the job market. This is the goal of our economic recovery program. Yes, it marks a decided turnaround from government tax and spend policies of the past 4 decades, deliberately so, and I believe it'll work. Indeed, the signs are there that it's beginning to work. Last week, I called attention to the decline in interest rates, 21.5% down to 13.5%, inflation down from 12.4% to 5.4% since the first of the year. A family of 4 with a $15,000 income has $1,000 more in purchasing power than it would have if inflation had stayed at 12.4%. I know this is hard to see because prices keep going up, but they aren't going up as fast or as much as they were. What we're all waiting for is that zero wait, when they stay where they are or even drop a little. Well, that too is what our program is designed to accomplish. And the leading economic indicators by which we know whether the economy is improving or getting worse have climbed for the 4th month in a row. That hasn't happened for a long time. Clearly, the most important question now before us is whether we have the will and determination to hold our course. The next test will come when the Congress returns to Washington and decides whether to sustain my veto of a supplemental spending bill that would drive up spending once again. I hope we can work together to develop a more responsible bill. In the meantime, I hope you'll join me this Labor Day weekend in saluting the workers of America. And while we're doing that, perhaps we can spare a moment of prayer for some workers in another country. Here in America, on Labor Day, we hold parades to support the principles of freedom. In Poland a few days ago, the people peacefully gathered to mark the 2nd anniversary of Solidarity, a labor movement which revived our hope that nonviolent change and basic human rights could come to a closed communist community. Their parade was met with guns, concussion grenades, tear gas, and water cannons. As we attend our parades and picnics, let us remember how fortunate we are to be a free people. Let us remember the handwritten prayer that was recently found in an alcove of a Polish church. It read, "Thank you, Lord, that into this temple I may bring verses. It's the only place in our homeland where every Pole feels free and where he may evoke his pain. I beg you to give my country the the strength to endure. Well, let us in America be thankful for the strength of our free labor movement. May it long endure. Thanks for listening. God bless you. I'll be back next week at this same time. Don't ask me why I said community instead of society. I don't know.
Okay.
What was that?
The sirens?
I don't know. Traffic problems up on Refugio
I was
Road.
thinking maybe we should have done the crime message.
Yeah, that would have sounded.
I couldn't hear it.
Is that a forestry fire? Oh, good Lord. Let's look at the horizon. They say there's one in Griffith Park in Los Angeles. They said yesterday. Well, if that was forestry fire. Here in America, on Labor Day, we hold parade.
How was the wind noise? Went over very shortly.
Huh?
Went over very shortly.
Never heard a thing.
You
Didn't hear the sirens?
I'll be down.
Oh, that's awesome.
Didn't hear that either.
Oh, we'll
You were
have to
talking
do it over
really
again.
close to the microphone, which meant that nothing else got on.
Dub in.
Birds, airplanes.
And they was on 1400. It was on.
How dry this week?
Much better. Yeah. That's clear enough. I'm still eating mine.
That's much better.
Oh, yes.
Is that the cure?
The doctor, the eye doctor, he said there isn't anything you can do about it. He said it takes about 2 weeks. It'll be, well, it's 2 weeks today. It's still completely. But he said maybe you can speed it up a little if you ate papaya. He said, don't ask me why, but he said, so I've been on a papaya diet for breakfast. But you know, there is something. I recently read where they're using some extract of papaya and using it as an injection for people with certain kinds of bad backs. And I know that they put it up now in tablets, and it's advertised as an aid to digestion. So maybe it's got some.
Aloe vera.
Huh?
Aloe vera is supposed to heal everything.
What's aloe vera?
From a cactus,
Oh.
gel, the aloe vera plant, cactus succulent.
Yeah.
Yes, it heals everything.
You know that patch of cactus up in here? That's the only cactus up here in all these mountains. And this used to be. See, this house was built in 1872, and this porch part around it, main house. But it used to be a self-sustaining farm. I got an article in here about the place, and they raised corn and beans. They had vines and made their own wine, and it was a subsistence farm. And I've always looked at that cactus up there, and I don't know this much about tequila, but I suspect that may well be the cactus from which you make tequila, and they took care of that also. But it just isn't any place in these mountains.
Saturday night entertainment.
Yeah.
Saturday night entertainment.
Yeah.
Self-sustaining fun too for it.
Are you going right into them, Mr. President?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll be watching you for a while.
The mountain top.
Yeah. That's the top of the.
See that?
Yeah, no, I see it,
See,
but.
you see where the grass is on top?
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 miles.
Yeah, last night at the barbecue, a couple of them complained to me, why didn't we go riding earlier? Because they said they can go home after we.
That's true. That's true. It's also nicer in the morning because there's not so much heat waves. The heat waves make it very blurry.
Yeah.
Blurry. It'll be nice in the fall and winter time.
Well, gee, I'll tell that guy that's been doubling me on the rise. He was worried that.
If it's any colder, you need to put makeup on.
The other day we must have given him trouble though. First day of it, 102 up here.
Yes, it's really bad.
So I had to figure out that. Right, we wouldn't have ridden. We didn't know in advance. We were all
Yeah,
set.
can you raise those four and then plan an exact Saturday?
Tried it.
I tracked her, but I figured out a ride that kept us in the woods all the time. Shade. Probably didn't get much.
You read the White Horse?
Yeah,
That's what the Portillo gave you?
yeah.
How's it doing?
He's good, right?
They had to break him in. He's not broken in.
Oh, yeah, he was trained.
Was he
Yeah.
trained?
Yeah, he was trained, except that
Is that him?
he kind of,
Oh, okay, that's all right.
first of all, he's a stud.
Do a for 'em.
And the other horses, you know, had to get out. But also, they kind of train him to come out of the stall behind. He was more problem when you were on the ground. He was on his back. Okay, his back and fine. He was on the ground, you had to watch out if you get bitten and kicked or something. And I understand that is, you know, so with the stall there rearing up and everything, and that's the macho thing that he's going to ride that. I have to watch certain rocks up here, which we have plenty. Another horse is always just not an explanation. I don't know what it is with him. I can guess. But all these rocks around.
Yes, Ken, go ahead.
Learned to my surprise just a few days ago. Started by one of those flat squares. Boy, he shied about 15.
There's a lot of tape on this. Can't be too much longer.
You go by all kinds of rocks. That particular kind of flat square rock.
22 minutes right now.